want you to compare a moment Buddhism and Christianity. It's interesting that the Pope and the Dalai Lama were comparing thoughts here because you have two worldviews that are in collision. And the reason I bring this up about Buddhism is it's one of the most popular questions on our website, not only here, but in Europe. And so people are kind of fascinated with that. Some of the movie stars in Hollywood have gone to Buddhism.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, let's talk about comparing worldviews at this point.
You're absolutely right. As I travel, even one-on-one or in our mail or whatever, there's this real delight in, what about Buddhism? What about Buddhism? What people actually forget that Buddhism has one of the most dangerous seductions possible. It can make you believe that you can be good without God. Because there's no God in Buddhism. There's no teaching about God in Buddhism. And what I had was a conversation once with a very renowned monk in Thailand. She was the first woman monk ordained, PhD McMaster University from Canada, and had come back to Thailand, went to Sri Lanka to be ordained, and I contacted her for the privilege of talking to her. We had a fascinating conversation. So at one point I said to her, who do you think is the quintessential expression of your faith? She said, the Dalai Lama. I said, and the goal of your faith is to cease desiring, right? You don't want to will anymore. She said, that is right. I said, can you tell me why the Dalai Lama wills for the liberation of Tibet, when the best expression of your faith violates the ultimate precept towards which you are moving? How do you respond to that? She was very quiet. She said, may I say he wills to do so? You could tell she was getting upset at this point. So I backed off. I said, I have one more question for you, ma'am. And I said, that is this. You believe that every birth is a rebirth in your faith? She said, yes. I said, but if you start from now and move backwards, okay, you start from now and move backwards, you've had a finite number of births. Is that correct? She said, I would say so. I said, since you believe every birth is a rebirth, and every birth is a payment for the previous birth, and you have a finite number of births, that must mean you had a first birth. Is that correct? And she paused and said, yes, I would have to say so. I said, what were you paying for in your first birth? She was visibly shaken by the question. She said, we choose not to ask such questions. Ironically, she had left her family, just like Buddha had. She'd left her children and her husband and had renounced all of that. I asked her if she longed to see her kids. And I could see the tears welling up and the lips quivering. She said, I pick them up every day and I take them to school and I pick them up from school. And so she had a car as a Buddhist monk. And as a Buddhist female monk, she couldn't have a man driving along. So she was always alone and picked up the children. She could see the breaking point out there. One of my Hindu friends once said to me, who came to know Christ, he said, Ravi, I woke up one morning and I was thinking of our conversation. And then I thought to myself, even my bank manager tells me how much I owe and how long I have to pay it back. He said, in my karmic cycle, I have no idea how much I owe and how long I have to pay it back. He said, it's a heartless system. And he ultimately gave his life to Christ. So those of you who live by these ethical views, I commend you for wanting to lead a good life. It tells me a lot about who you are. You don't want to bring hurt. You don't want to bring pain. But let me just remind you, goodness doesn't come from within you. The biggest problem in the world is not outside of you, it's inside of you. And the transformed human heart and the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and His presence with you gives you the right kind of hungers and lets you know that it is appointed for you once to die, and after that you meet your Creator. If you look at the countries in this world that had ethical systems for religion, you will find them to be the most unethical today, because ethics alone doesn't have within itself the imperative. It only has the draw that this is the way you should be. God gives you the strength in the Christian faith to do what is right.